If you've been following the news over the past few years, then you're probably aware of a modern-day global space race that is going on. The US and Russia have been fairly prominent in the space industry since the time of the Cold War, when they were competing like two family members at war over a game of Monopoly. However, over the past few decades, China and even India have started to become players in the space industry. More and more private companies are also entering the race, with ultra-rich billionaires gunning to be the first into space with tourism and moonlanders. With all this, I've been wondering a really important question. Why are we seeing so many companies enter the space industry, and why is it getting so much attention and investment? Hi, I'm your host Zari, and welcome to an Andrew and Zari video. June of 1969, NASA lands two astronauts on the moon, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. The last manned mission to the moon would be just a few years later in 1972, aboard the Apollo 17. The world must have been an exciting and inspiring place for a young Elon who dreamt of one day being able to travel into space. Well, unfortunately for him, that was not to be, unless he did something about it. You see, space exploration has been stagnant for a very long time, and has only started to come back in a big way in the last decade or so. To put into perspective the magnitude of the stagnation, here's some food for thought. The computer that was on the Apollo 11 in the 1960s is about 100,000 times less powerful than the iPhone you're watching this video on. So, why did we stop after 1972? Why is our greatest achievement in space travel from a time when TVs looked like microwaves and our technology was so primitive? One of the main reasons for this stagnation is that NASA, being one of the big players in the space industry, has had its budget cut over the years after the race to the moon in the mid-60s ended. As a matter of fact, NASA's budget in the mid-60s was $5 billion. That's about $40 billion in today's money, almost double NASA's current budget of $22 billion. However, investing in the space industry has recently picked up as other countries like China and private companies run by billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Richard Branson develop their own spacecraft for various applications, such as space tourism, moon landers, plans to colonize Mars, and even ambitious plans to reduce travel time between continents using spacecrafts like SpaceX's Starship. While some see space travel as a business and a technological opportunity, others, particularly Elon, view it as an opportunity for humans to become a multi-planetary species in the case of a catastrophic event on Earth. Undoubtedly, one of the biggest reasons space launches are picking up is to do with the business and opportunities that lie ahead, and the cheaper cost of getting things into space. When NASA launched the Space Shuttle, it was supposed to be a reusable spacecraft which can be repurposed for a new mission and flown back into space. However, the rocket boosters that propelled the Space Shuttle into space, which were also one of the most expensive components of the Space Shuttle, would be discarded in space because at that time NASA did not possess the technology to land its boosters back on Earth for reuse. This resulted in every Space Shuttle mission costing almost $500 million. The cost, along with the reliability and turnaround time of the Space Shuttle, were what ultimately sealed the fate of the Space Shuttle. After which time, NASA had to rely on the Russian Soyuz to get astronauts into space. Fast forward to today, private companies such as SpaceX have proven that the cost of a single space launch can be reduced drastically by effectively recycling and reusing most of the components of a rocket. I'm sure many of you have seen videos of SpaceX landing its Falcon 9 boosters. At the time of this video, SpaceX has successfully landed 82 boosters back on Earth. The cost of a Falcon 9 launch to space is $62 million, significantly less than the cost of the Space Shuttle. This lower cost of launches has opened the doors for different types of missions, the vast majority of which are satellite launches for various companies, but the launches are also being developed for different opportunities such as space travel and space exploration. The space program getting the most attention at the moment is SpaceX's Starlink. SpaceX plans to launch thousands of small satellites into low Earth orbit, which will provide internet to remote areas which have previously had poor or no internet connection at all. SpaceX has already launched about 1,500 satellites and plans to launch several thousand more. The reason this is a big deal is because there are several areas in developed countries that have very poor to no internet access, and that is for remote areas in developed countries. Now, can you imagine how big of a gap there is to fill in underdeveloped and developing countries? This is just one of the many projects that are coming over the years and have been made financially possible by cheaper travel to space. Blue Origin and others also plan to launch their own satellites and provide competition to SpaceX's Starlink. Space travel also seems to be a new playground for the ultra-rich billionaires like Bezos, Branson, and Musk. Now you have the opportunity to fly on board a new spacecraft, keyword being new, which can also mean not safe. I'll let you decide that. Anyway, all of them plan to get you into space for a hefty ticket of about $200,000 or so you can feel 20 minutes of zero gravity and take some pictures to show off to your less wealthy friends. The question remains if these are worth the hype or just a new way for the wealthy to spend their money.
Who wants a Skittle?
Either way, it is generating a lot of buzz and people do seem interested in these programs, which is why they're being developed. Besides the business, space travel brings with it advanced technologies that are developed for various programs, and they have useful applications on Earth as well. Whether it is to be able to find and study galaxies further than we have ever known, or to be able to develop technology that could sustain life on an inhabitable planet like Mars, all these space programs are striving for a very difficult goal, which oftentimes require new and undiscovered technologies in order for their mission to be successful. Some of these technologies can later be transferred to useful applications on Earth. Technologies that we use on a daily basis which were developed for a space program include cell phone cameras, wireless headphones, water purification systems, memory foam, scratch resistance lenses, and LASIK. None of these would exist if it was not for space travel. So I come back to the same question, why are we doing this? There are a lot of individuals who believe space travel is a waste of resources, and all the money spent on space travel could be used to solve real problems on Earth, such as world hunger. There is also the issue of environmental impacts. As space travel accelerates, more and more rocket launches will have a greater impact on the environment. However, there are some reasons to justify space travel. While we may not realize it, space travel has provided different technologies that we take for granted. Space travel has the potential to reduce travel time between continents to a fraction of the time currently required. There is also potential for advanced manufacturing and medicine, and even though these programs are still in their infancy, if successful, they could be beneficial to life on Earth. And most of all, space travel seems exciting. I still look at videos of the Saturn V taking off to go to the moon, or the space shuttle taking off to do a mission. It's fascinating, and being among the stars brings a sense of adventure. If it was affordable and available, would you take your next vacation to space? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. If you have questions or suggestions for future videos, please leave us a comment. We will read all of your comments. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.